Justin, my man, we are here with another episode of the Aftermath AEW Blood and Guts. How you doing today, man?
Disappointed from the lack of guts.
just a little too much. There wasn't enough blood and guts, but it was still good enough, man. I really enjoyed this one. Let's start it off, man. Let's start right with the show. We had a few tape matches. You know, they're at Daly's place this week, and of course, obviously, and they start off with a few tape matches. I think Blood and Guts was the only live match. But what'd you think of this first match? I know you didn't catch it till pretty late, but we had Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. Omega and Kingston got the win, but Kingston attacked by Omega after the match. Where do you think this sets up, man? Omega's kind of been going after everybody here in the main part of this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing a good job with Omega, making him like the cowardly heel, but also like showing him as a serious threat at the same time. It's kind of weird where he has like all these championships, but like didn't want to fight Moxley or Kingston. He just kind of let Nakazawa take it and then come at the end and kick the shit out of people. And it's what it is. It's good. I'm okay with it. I love Omega.
Yeah, man. Omega's been so good. I think it's nice to see him finally get that run as champion. We saw him beat Rich Swann at Impact Rebellion a few weeks ago and take that Impact title as well. You kind of see that crossover here. What do you think the end game here is, man? We saw later in the show, we saw the announcement that next week there will be a match between Pac and Orange Cassidy for the opportunity to face Omega at Double or Nothing. Who do you think takes that match? I mean, my choice, you know how much I'm a big Orange Cassidy fan. I think that's kind of the way they're going to go. I don't see him losing. I don't see Omega losing, that is. But yeah, man, I still think he's hold 4 titles. I mean, he is the wrestling champ right now. What do you see the end game being of this? Do you see it lasting for this year or even into next year?
I have no idea what their plan is, especially like on the Impact side of things. Like your title holder is in a different company, which is kind of weird. I'm sure they got something worked out where he's going to hold it for a while, and maybe some fantasy booking on the cast. Maybe a Samoa Joe pops up in Impact, and
dude, you know how much we both love Samoa Joe.
But I don't know what the game plan is. I mean, even with Cassidy and Pac going at it, I mean, I think Pac is the more viable to like be a threat, but I love Orange Cassidy too, so I'm not going to complain about him being in a title match. So I won't be upset either way because I love Pac too. He's awesome.
I really dig Pac in the Death Triangle stable that they have. I think that they can be good tag team champions. I know we saw, and we'll talk about this later in the night, or a few minutes here with the tag team eliminator match that they had, which was really good. But I think Death Triangle is a kind of team that you can keep relying on to be a main stable at this point. And Pac is somebody that you can use down the line, whether that be at the TNT title holder or, even in the main event scene. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Cassidy's going to get the win, but here next week, but I don't think he'll beat Omega, which is fine. I still think that they're setting up for a Hangman versus Omega match. Maybe we'll see that at All Out. We know how important All Out is for AEW. These next 2 pay-per-views are going to be really big for their future. But yeah, man, this was a really good show. After that, we had a pretty good match. Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, man. I mean, QT Marshall kind of got the rub here a few weeks ago, turning on Cody, turning on the Nightmare family, and really kind of set himself apart. He's kind of been that backstage guy. He's one of the guys that you hear that is really getting a lot of press for being a trainer and being just an important part of the backstage help of AEW. And now he's finally got a story. He's kind of really being pushed as that next guy. What'd you think of Cody and QT Marshall fighting off here?
Yeah, I kind of wish QT would have won, honestly. Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't mind him and Cody having the match, but it would have been cool to have some more build up to it. Maybe Cody takes on a few guys in his stable first and then leads to that. I don't know. I mean, good match. Won't complain about it. Love Cody. He's fantastic. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the other way around would have been better suited to my tastes.
Are you a fan of Cody in the sense that you think he could be a main event guy?
Oh
Still?
yeah.
I mean,
easily.
In my opinion, he is a main event guy, but I also know that he kind of had that ticket here in the last year. I want to say last year that he was not allowed to challenge for the AEW
I think
title.
he is one of those guys who just like in wrestling now, he's just one of the guys. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't need a title to be a main eventer, and that's kind of what it is. Like, yeah, I'm sure at some point they'll find a way to get him into that title match. So I'm perfectly fine with him, being like in charge of the company and not having title matches. That's perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. But I don't know. It seems like he wins a lot of matches that I think he shouldn't win. Like Lance Archer for the first TNT title match. I think he should have won that. But I mean, I was fine with Cody winning it. It establishes it as a belt that's important. But like this one, I think QT should have won. But it's okay. I'm not upset by it. But the other way around, I think would have been better.
I think it's good to see Cody win. It's not like he is the kind of person to where, he's running the company and he's, deserves to get every win on the card. I don't think it's that way. Cody is a fantastic wrestler. We know how good he was in WWE.
Yeah, it's definitely not that he doesn't deserve it. I mean, obviously he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I just think there's a couple times where maybe he shouldn't have won, that he has. Yeah. But I don't have a complaint about him winning either. Like either time, like sure. I understand it both ways.
It would be nice to see Cody kind of give those wins to those younger guys. I think like Lance Archer. I mean, there's a report that came out that AEW wants to stop signing WWE guys and kind of build their own homegrown talent. We've seen that with Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. We've seen a lot of good talent come from there, but we've also seen those WWE guys like FTR, Cody Rhodes, Jon Moxley. There's a lot of guys from the WWE side of things that are getting that high push. So I think if like you said, I think Cody's great. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. He's the kind of guy that is the gatekeeper. If you can beat Cody, if you can get a win over Cody, you've made it in AEW. But it would be nice to see him give up a few wins. But yeah, QT Marshall has done really well, I think, in this stable. I'm excited to see some of the young guys he's got in that stable of his and see what they can do. I honestly, we saw the first ever Blood and Guts match. I'd love to see Nightmare Family versus QT Marshall's faction in that.
That'd be good. Yeah.
It would be a big rub for those guys.
Yeah. And I think going back to like the Cody being kind of the gatekeeper thing, I think they've done a good job, especially they're now just the first few years in, like they brought in the established stars and put them at the top of the card where they should be. Yeah. And they've had their younger guys, Darby Allin, even like Jungle Boy, like,
yeah, Jungle Boy's great.
They lost matches at first, and then it's like they gain experience. They start getting better, and they're like slowly building. I mean, look at MJF tonight. Like they're making stars at the same time.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. I think tonight's match, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, was a star-making performance for MJF. And I mean, even in the same vein, Wardlow. I mean, Wardlow looked absolutely fantastic in this match, going up against Jake Hager. But yeah, we'll get to that in a few minutes here. Let's talk about Darby Allin going up against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Ethan Page just showed up at the last pay-per-view, and they've kind of been making a little team between Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. We see Sky throw Darby Allin down the staircase out at Daly's place. What do you think about this one, man? I think Darby's kind of getting that rub to be in with Sting, but he's got to have a challenger here soon that can actually give him a really good chance. Do you think it's Scorpio?
I really like Scorpio Sky too. I think he's done well as face and heel. I think he's one of those guys they can build with towards the future. I think he'll be AEW champion at some point. I think he's great.
Really?
At some point, not anytime soon, but I think maybe not like a long-term champ, but at least transitional at some point.
Transitional.
I think
that's fair.
He's definitely built to be at least upper mid card and have kind of that main event push every now and then. I think he could at some point. I think he's great, but I know they're building some stuff with Miro too, and I think he could be the guy who takes it off Darby.
Yeah, Miro needs that push. I think Miro hasn't really gotten that streamlined push. We've seen him in some stuff with Best Friends, the arcade Anarchy match. I think that's what it was called, with him and Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. But yeah, man, I really would love to see what Miro has to do. I think Miro can be a really big component in the TNT title match. I think Darby is absolutely great. The character work, I mean, the way he puts his body down, it's incredible. I don't know if you saw that match, the tape match with him and Sting versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. You know how much I'm a fan of Ricky Starks.
Yeah, he takes bumps all the time. That poor
takes
guy.
some bumps, man. He is brutal. He is brutal living, but
yeah, he's like
it's great.
He's almost like a new generation Jeff Hardy at this point, where he just while he's young and can do it, he puts it all on the line, and I respect it. But dude, chill, please.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that. I think Jim Ross actually compared him to Jeff Hardy, saying he was the next Jeff Hardy. So no, I'm glad. We got a fan comment here. Maya Fuller says she's the number one wrestling fan. We're glad to have you part of this this podcast here. Another episode of The Aftermath. Excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us, Justin. We had a quick match here. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD,
100% full for it. Let her squash everyone. Don't care.
Sure. She took on Julia Hart, and it was a quick one right there. Let me tell you, that was I think this was the first one you watched live. We were talking throughout the entire show, and this one was quick. I mean, this one was
I'm about
not
it.
really a challenge.
If you're building stars, building up title matches, just let your challenger squash everyone. I don't care. Let her squash for the championship. I don't care. 30 seconds in and out. Let's go.
I
put the title on her.
If I'm being serious, I think this is the time that you go with Britt Baker.
Yeah, she's
beating Sheeta at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, she's been great. I mean, you think back to just she's earned it. I think it's time to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, she's had this rivalry with Sheeta. We saw her with Thunder Rosa having a really fantastic rivalry. But I think now's the time. Sheeta has had a fantastic run. I think she can be a great challenger. I don't know if that's the right word. I think she'll be in the main event scene in the women's division, but I think having her going after the title is more her and Thunder Rosa, like going after the title.
It's weird
better than her winning the title.
Being faces, it's almost better when they're chasing rather than when they have it. So
exactly,
I agree.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah, exactly. I think Britt Baker has earned it. Some of her matches, I dug the match in the dentist office.
She's shown she can do everything from the more gruesome, brutal stuff to some of the technical stuff to even some of the comedy stuff. Like, she can do it all. So
no, she's
done everything they've asked of her.
Yeah, and that match against Thunder Rosa a few weeks ago was absolutely brutal. I mean, she bled like about as good as you can get from a wrestling match. Not even a women's wrestling match. She went out and those two had a absolute war. Now, I really appreciate it. I think it brought a lot of fans to women's wrestling, which is what we need to see more. We need to see more of that. WWE has been lacking in the women's wrestling department, and seeing AEW make that a big part. Even though this was a very short match, you have to think Blood and Guts has been advertised for almost a whole year. Last year was a huge thing. They wanted to do that before COVID. And to even be on this show, to have a women's match that kind of builds into Double or Nothing, is very important, and a very good job by AEW. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see Britt Baker. I fully do expect her to take the title off of Hikaru Shida, who's been a fantastic champion. She's really carried the company here. All right, man, we're going to move on to our next match, the final match that was taped. We had a 4-way elimination tag team match. SCU, Jurassic Express, the Varsity Blondes, and the Acclaimed. We texted each other before this match about the Acclaimed. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I think that they can they'll wear on me here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think I haven't watched too much of them. I haven't been keeping up with AEW as much as I should be. Yeah, guilty as charged. But just from what I have seen from them, I think they're a good heel tag team. I think AEW's tag team division is so deep and so good that it's so strong top to bottom. And even with the match, I mean, it was expected SCU was going to win it, but I think it was good. No complaints about it.
they're young. I think they're a big part of the future of AEW's tag team, and that's the same to be said about excuse me, I lost there. The Varsity Blondes, man, I love. I'm Griff Garrison is good. Don't get me wrong, and he's had a few matches last year against some of the higher talent. But man, Brian Pillman Jr. He can absolutely work. He looks just like his dad. I know it's kind of important for him to have this match because this week, Dark Side of the Ring season 3 comes out tomorrow with the Brian Pillman 2-hour episode. Fantastic. I've seen the first part already. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen that, be sure to check in on Vice TV tomorrow and check out the 2-hour premiere of Dark Side of the Ring season 3. But yeah, man, Brian Pillman Jr. is fantastic. I really enjoy Jurassic Express. I don't know how you cannot. I mean, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are great together. They have to be tag team champions at some point. They have to be.
I don't know. AEW's roster is set up so well for now and in the future. Just tag division, women's division, the men's division. Like you have established guys like the Young Bucks, SCU even. Like they're very well known.
Yeah.
And then you have, Jurassic Express, the Varsity Blondes, the Acclaimed. You have it's so deep that you can build people up and drop people down the card, and it's not like a demotion. It's just we have so many people that can do everything.
Yeah, dude, I really enjoy. I'm a big actor fan, and seeing as Jungle Boy is the son of Luke Perry, the former, he passed away here last year. Jack Perry, I love him. I think he is absolutely fantastic in the ring. Luchasaurus is great too. But yeah, you talked about SCU. We saw them get the win here. Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, I don't know if they'll take the titles off of Young Bucks next week. I fully expect the Young Bucks to retain, but if like you said, AEW's roster is so set up well for, and I think this is the difference between WWE and AEW. WWE is just in the moment kind of stuff. I think they know what they want to do, but they have some set plans. AEW is okay, we have these top guys. We have Jericho. We have Young Bucks, like you said. We have SCU even as veterans, and Kenny Omega. But we want our new guys to shine here in the future. We want to continue to build them. So I think giving SCU, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, guys who really made their mark in TNA and really showed some of the best matches in all of wrestling history. I think the match between AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels is at Lockdown. One of the greatest matches. If you have yet to see that, I highly, highly recommend it. But yeah, man, I dig SCU getting the win here. Like I said, I don't think that they'll get the win next week against the Young Bucks. I think the Young Bucks are going to drop that to honestly, I'd love to see Jurassic Express or Death Triangle. I think those are I think Death Triangle could. I think they could challenge for it with like I said, Pac. I expect him to lose next week to Orange Cassidy. But yeah, man, I dug this match. I think it was quick. It allowed all 4 teams to shine, and like you said, it set up the future. It really did. It gave those future teams, those young teams like the Varsity Blondes and the Acclaimed, a chance to show what they have against top talent in the company.
I agree. I think that's one thing that AEW does really well is they, like you said, they have their guys at the top of the card. And one thing about them kind of having this roster of indie darlings is like nobody really knows a lot of them. Like wrestlers, like wrestling fans know them, but like fans, more casual fans, they don't know them, and it gives them the chance to build it up. And I know you talked about that's WWE's problem is they almost suffer from success where everybody is a top guy, and you have to pick the top guys out of the top guys, and it's just hard to work with that. You don't have a set mid card and lower card when everybody can be it.
Exactly. I think AEW, like you said, WWE either has your top card or you're below it. That's kind of how it goes. It's top tier and nothing else. In AEW, you have your guys at the top. You have your mid card guys, and then even tonight we saw it with Omega. You have your low-tier guys that are still entertaining. Michael Nakazawa, I really love him on being the elite. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He gets that chance to shine on that behind the scenes show. And I think, again, that's another thing that AEW does differently is you get to see these wrestlers in a different light than what you see on TV. You know what? And again, I know that's produced by the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler and all those guys, and they're given that chance to really shine. But AEW does such a good job of establishing, hey, these guys are mid card, and I think it's partially because of that ranking system. You have
that helps for sure. And I think in AEW too, it's not like if you're mid card or you're towards the bottom of the card, it's not a bad thing to be there. Like,
no, exactly.
Because for the most part, it's guys who are younger and still relatively new to the business who are still learning. Like they should be there. It's not like Cesaro for the longest time over in WWE was lower mid card guy. Like he would be a world champion contender anywhere else in the world, but in WWE, he's just another guy, and it's different.
Well, shit, dude, we've known each other since 2016, and we've been talking like ever since. You know, we kind of bonded over our love of wrestling and football, and we talked about how good Cesaro was and how he just never was getting a push. And 5 years later, he's finally getting that push that might lead to a title match at WrestleMania Backlash.
Could maybe possibly lead to a title match.
Exactly. Maybe at one point. No, dude, I fully agree with you. I think you see guys like Griff Garrison or Michael, I lost his, Brian Pillman Jr., they're getting matches against Darby Allin. These guys are getting matches against the TNT champion and getting to be able to show what they got.
And, they're getting more than 2 or 3 minutes to show they can work. Yeah.
They're getting 5-minute matches. I know 5 minutes doesn't sound a lot, but when you're a wrestling fan and you've been so accustomed to what WWE has done, where the divas are getting 2 matches. I say divas, that's the wrong way to put it. The women are getting 5, 2-minute matches. It doesn't really make you care for them. And when AEW is giving, this show was at the beginning rumored to be an entire 2-hour show just focused on blood and guts, which was fine. I would have loved that. I think it would have been great, but also a 2-hour match. Don't know how well that would go over. But to be able to give these guys a platform, this is one of those shows like Fight for the Fallen or Fyter Fest, shows that are not pay-per-views but are TV level pay-per-views. This is good television that you really don't want to miss. So I think AEW giving those guys a chance just shows how
they trust their guys.
They trust, exactly. That's the best way to put it. They trust their guys. They trust their young stars to really be able, once you're Jericho's, once you're Young Bucks and Omega.
Yeah, and I think part of it is just like everyone's so talented in the ring that like they can put guys out there just to work a match and they can worry about the character development later. Like,
yeah.
And as somebody grows with their character, that's when they start moving up the card. Like Darby Allin, for example, when he first showed, he rose the ranks pretty quickly. People fell in love with him fast, but that guy like that, you knew he could work. And like what was it with Joey Janela and
the match with Janela and Moxley. Is that what
Moxley,
you're talking about?
There's one with Jimmy Havoc too. But yeah, they had
we don't talk about Jimmy Havoc.
We don't talk about that, But there's just that match that like you put him out there in a hardcore match at first. That's what his shtick is, and now he's TNT champion. Like,
well, even the first, I think we watched it together when we were back in college. The Cracker Barrel Invitational.
That's what I'm talking about.
Or Orange Cassidy like put on the barrel and did the coffin or. Darby Allin, excuse me, did the coffin drop and that was just another run-of-the-mill match. Like it didn't even matter. I'm pretty sure that pay-per-view was highlighted by, Jericho Omega or something like. I don't remember the match, but it was nothing, and it shows just how well that they've handled their stars, especially during this COVID era. With COVID, you really do want to put your best guys out there. You want to get people to watch because not a lot of people are watching. And for them to be able to build up, Darby Allin is great on his own, but to get that push from Sting, that's amazing. And we haven't even seen Christian Cage in 2 weeks. Like this roster, and we haven't seen Big Show either. Paul White has not been on wrestling yet, and I expect him to do as well. But Man, AEW, it's really tough to not want to watch, especially seeing what we've seen with Raw. SmackDown's good, but Raw is just a brutal watch. I'm really glad that NXT and AEW kind of split nights in being able to host that, because I think it just gives both of them.
Yeah, I know we talked about it last time I was on the show. It's just good for wrestling fans.
Yeah, it is. No, I fully agree with you. All right, man. We're going to the final thing. We saw a quick announcement, but we talked about it already with Omega gonna face the winner of Pac and Cassidy. I think we both agree on Orange Cassidy getting the win here next week. I don't know about you, but I expect that to happen.
I think that's what'll happen, but I could see it going either way.
Yeah, no, I think the main reason I think that is because Cassidy is the number one ranked in AEW's ranking system. And Cassidy is more believable as a loser. And this sounds bad because, again, I have an Orange Cassidy AEW figure back there.
Cassidy doesn't.
You know how much I love Orange Cassidy.
Love that guy, but he's not really a world title holder.
Yeah, not at this point. I think he will get a run at some point. But him versus Pac, I think Pac would have to be a hell of a match to see Pac lose. Like, Pac is
but it's interesting because Pac has beaten Omega and Orange Cassidy before.
Exactly.
So, I mean, who knows what they'll do? You don't know with AEW.
No, exactly. They set up a really good match next week. I'm very much looking forward to it. But here we go, man. We're getting into Blood and Guts. The main event of the show took over the entire second hour of AEW Dynamite tonight. What'd you think, man? Inner Circle and Pinnacle, I really dug this. Is kind of throwback, like we talked about, to the old WCW War Games matches. It was brutal, man. It was really good.
You know, they definitely hit on the blood. I was kind of disappointed to not see a couple intestines laying around, but you know, it was brutal. I know we talked about it.
Save it for the next one.
There was that spot where they had the turnbuckle off, and they just left it in the middle of the ring, and I thought for sure somebody was just going to die. They were going to get impaled.
They really did.
It made me
Jericho
nervous.
Just set it down and just was like, yeah, whatever.
It made me nervous, which I guess is what you want from that kind of match. But I was worried somebody was going to get really hurt.
Yeah, dude. I expected a good amount out of this one. I expected a lot of intensity. I mean, this is last year. I think it was supposed to be, I want to say, Inner Circle versus the Elite. I think that was the proposed plan when the Elite was put together. We saw this Stadium Stampede match, which was one of my favorite matches of all time. You can't tell me otherwise. I don't care who you are. I know a lot of people disliked it, but I absolutely loved it.
It was really fun.
It was awesome. Really fun. It's a fun wrestling fan's like dream almost. But yeah, I think that was the original plan. We saw Jericho and MJF kind of build this bond over the last year, and MJF turns on him and creates the Pinnacle. Man, we saw a lot of good story building coming up to this match. Yeah. This was a match that I think deserved it. Jericho had one of the best promos of his life.
I think they did a great job. I mean, starting with, you know, Guevara being in there in the 2v1 situation, they made him look good. They made Wardlow look good. I mean, obviously they made MJF look good, and you know, you had your guys like FTR and you know, what used to be LAX. I don't know what they go by now.
Santana and Ortiz. Pride and Powerful, I think, is what they're tagging.
Yeah. But I mean, they're already stars. You already know who they are. Yeah. But they did a good job with the younger guys, Guevara, Wardlow, MJF, and then, you know, and the match was good. It was so good. It was hard hitting. It was brutal. It was everything you wanted out of it. Yeah. It was a little about the finish, but it made sense with everything going on.
Yeah. The only thing that really got me was the amount of commercial breaks that they had. I feel like for a match that was that big, that's, like I said, has been announced for a whole year. This was supposed to happen right before COVID started. I think they had it planned for Double or Nothing last year in May. Obviously, COVID started in March or so. But yeah, the finish, I understand. I think it works. And I think it can still set up a Jericho's, you know, he can be out for the next, 20 days until Double or Nothing on May 30th. I think he can set up that match. I think that's the only route you can go is Jericho and MJF in kind of like a final match. Obviously, I think MJF wins. But I think you hit it right on the head. The young guys really got a chance to shine. We know how good FTR is. We know how good Pride and Powerful are. They're going to be great stars in the tag. They're going to be consistent stars in the tag team. I think that's the best way. I think FTR is the better chance of winning gold again over Pride and Powerful, but I think that they'll both be guys you can put in any match on Dynamite, on any show, whatever, and know you're getting a good match. I mean, Guevara.
FTR hasn't been at AEW that long, but they're like already the established veterans that are going to be consistent performers. You can put them in the title matches if you want. You can have young guys go over them. You can have them go over young. You can do anything you want with them. So they're fine.
Yeah, and I still kind of like the tease of them joining with Sean Spears, who I thought he had a pretty good match here. We haven't seen a lot of him in AEW. He kind of had that little bit of a 2-month push when he first signed, and now he's kind of aligned himself with Tully Blanchard and FTR. I hope that they create another Four Horsemen. You know me, I love my classic wrestling. And I love my Ric Flair, so I obviously will support anything Ric Flair. But no, I dug him in this match. But yeah, I think the true champions of this match were Wardlow, MJF, and Guevara. Guevara really showed that fire, that passion to keep pushing. Wardlow is just that kind of person who's going to beat the shit out of you.
He's a big dude.
Not care. I mean, I get it. It's professional wrestling. We know what it's like. We're fans of it, but to be able to manhandle Jake Hager, an MMA champion like he did, I mean, he really beat the shit out of Hager, and it was great.
Putting him, going up against Hager, Hager has that MMA background, been in, it was Bellator, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, have somebody who is,
I'm pretty sure he fought Lashley.
He might have. I don't know. I've never watched too much of Bellator.
Never watched Bellator. Yeah, exactly.
But somebody, he's a real fighter.
Yeah.
And he has that realness about him that if somebody can handle him in the ring, it just gives them kind of that same edge.
Yeah. No. Let's talk about MJF here for a second here before we wrap it up. This is man, he's so damn. It's so hard to like him because you read his Twitter and you read who he is. He just does not come out of character. He does not give a fuck. And I love it.
He's one of the few people in the business that are just so committed to kayfabe. Maybe he's really just that big of a dickhead. Who knows? But
that's the thing. I don't know. And that's the thing is like you said, he really must be into kayfabe. And I love that. I love people who really look wrestling. Again, I just said it a few minutes ago. We know what wrestling is. We're fans of it. We've been fans of it for a while. It's a tough business, man. You got to give respect to the people who do this stuff, and especially guys like MJF and Stone Cold and The Rock back in their days, or Undertaker. I think Undertaker is the best example in all of wrestling. They do not take their character. There's no difference between who they are in the ring and out of the ring. I love that.
I think that's one thing that's really set MJF up to be, the next. I mean, he's already up there in the biggest heels in wrestling, but to be the next, the face of wrestling, as a heel, he's the guy. He's already almost there. I think he's probably got to be at least, if you would make a ranking list, top 5 biggest heel, he's got to be up there already. Yeah. But and he's what, 25, 26 maybe?
Yeah, he's barely older than me and you, man. That's crazy.
There's 15 to 20 more years of MJF just being at the top of wherever he goes.
For sure. And I what I think is going to happen is I think Omega is going to drop the title to Hangman. I want to say maybe not at All Out, but I want to say Full Gear. I think that'll be the next pay-per-view after that, in the fall. And then I expect MJF to be the next guy. And I really do think MJF is going to take that title off Hangman and run with it.
I think within the next 2 years, he's going to be. If they put the title, they've got to give him a long run. Just make him the Weasley rat heel champion who will do anything to not lose that title.
Exactly. No, but let's talk about the finish of this match here real quick. We saw MJF and Chris Jericho up on the top of the double-sided cage, which I thought was a great shot. We see Pride and Powerful and Sammy Guevara, kind of like pleading with him, like, please don't drop him, kind of thing. And they ended up surrendering. Guevara says, I surrender. And then MJF, the Pinnacle gets the win. And MJF still throws Jericho off the top of the cage. I think, again, that sets up a match. Jericho can come back in a few weeks to have that match at Double or Nothing. But
because Jericho probably needs a few weeks off after that match anyway. So.
Exactly. Yeah, he's getting a little too old.
There's shots of him where he was like, and he looked like he was thinking he was just too old for it.
And I love Jericho. I know how good he is.
I don't know. I think at this point you got to keep him out of these kind of matches. I think he's got to be done with him after this one. Like he's still good to go in just normal matches.
He can go normal, but I think it was the kind of thing where, like I said, like the Elite versus the Inner Circle was the original plan for this match. He wanted to be a part of the Blood and Guts match. He was obviously in WCW at the time. He's a big fan of the old War Games match, and getting him into this match, I think, worked. But man, did he? We've talked about it a lot on the show. Me and Wayne have. It's not that he looks fat or anything, because obviously he could probably.
No, he looks like he's 50.
Kick my ass any day, but he looks like he's 50. I think that's the best way to put it.
He's in shape. He's still good, especially for being 50. Like he's 50. He's almost. I don't know if he's 50 yet, but he's almost 50 years old. Like stop throwing him off the top of cages.
I would be scared of any man who's ever stepped up and challenged Brock Lesnar and Goldberg to a fight and won against Goldberg. Like
I think we can all agree that Chris Jericho does not need to be thrown off of cages and stuck in hour-long bloodbaths. I think we can all agree on that.
Exactly. Well, it was a good thing he was the last one to enter.
Yes, that's true.
He didn't have to fight the whole match. But man, no, what'd you think of the show overall? I thought it was really good. For a pay-per-view style Dynamite, AEW just continues to hit.
I don't know. From everything that I've ever watched with AEW, it seems like even a bad AEW show is still
it's still enjoyable.
It's still good. Like I mean, if you had like 1 out of 10, like the worst AEW show is maybe going to be like a 6 or a 7. Like they just put out solid shows, even if it's not like the most exciting thing. It's still good.
Trust me with the Raws. I know you haven't been keeping up with Raws, and I don't blame you. The Raws that have come after the post-WrestleMania stuff, they've definitely been like 1s and 2s out of 10. And I don't think in my viewing, I've probably missed maybe 6 or 7 AEWs, but I've kept up with the results. The worst grade I could probably give one is like a 6.
Yeah, and I know
like it's just not terrible. It's fun.
And I'm not an every week watcher. I mean, I got a list of stuff going on, but I always try to like
catch up.
Simon Miller's ups and downs is my wrestling news.
Yes, exactly, man.
But like,
I love it.
Even just like watching those, like those guys know wrestling.
Yeah,
AEW is always he's always given more ups than downs.
Yeah, exactly. But fun, man. I thought it was funny. I meant to send it to you. Tony Khan at the draft. He was sitting in the war room next to his dad. I was like, what is Tony Khan not playing an AEW Dynamite for? He shouldn't be worried about the draft. But yeah, man, I know I've talked a little bit about this to you. We're going to wrap it up here soon. Man, are we excited for this one? Justin, I know you're not a big part of Deep Six Pro Wrestling, but we're glad to have you every time that you can hop on. But I know we still consider you family. You're my best friend. Man, this Friday night, 9 p.m., Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast will be bringing you an episode, our Season 2 episode, with Chris Van Vliet, 4-time Emmy winner. He's done an interview with every single wrestler that you could ever imagine. Justin, I'll tell you, as much as I've said it enough the last few days, this is something that I wanted to cross off my bucket list ever since I became a broadcaster. Being able to interview Chris Van Vliet was absolutely awesome. One of the best experiences I've ever had. He is a fantastic guy, and to be able to have him on our 1-year anniversary to kind of start us off with year 2, man, it's awesome. So we're excited for people to check this out. Be sure to tune in this Friday night, 9 p.m. at Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. we'll be sure to share it out on all of our social media pages if you're not following us, or subscribe to us, Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Be sure to check us out. Justin, thank you so much for hopping on the Aftermath post show for AEW Blood and Guts. It's great to have you, man.
Yeah, of course. Always a blast.
Yeah, man. And we will be seeing you here soon. Season 2 starting up this Friday. Take care, guys.